All right, so imagine this. You're about to become an occupational railway instructor.
That's right.
It's not just about teaching, though. It's like you're shaping, the future of the people who keep these massive trains running safely.
Yeah.
Huge responsibility. And today, we're like your personal coaches.
Yeah, what's really cool here is we've got access to these 3 different resources,
Oh, yeah?
all from RoleCatcher, which is stuff that most people wouldn't even think to look for. This is like real inside baseball stuff.
Right, and it's not just tips and tricks, right?
Right.
Like, RoleCatcher uses AI,
Yeah.
which is kind of mind-blowing.
Thanks.
Like, it can actually tailor your CV, help you practice for those interview questions, and even helps you get noticed by employers directly. And they've got this database of, get this, 9 million global employers.
That's right. 9 million. That's a lot of employers.
So if you're thinking about, the bigger picture, that means you're not just sending your resume out into a black hole.
Right.
RoleCatcher kind of like puts you on the radar of companies who are actively hiring.
Absolutely.
That's massive.
Yeah.
So it's not just about acing the interview. It's about, like, increasing your odds of even getting an interview.
Right.
Okay, so I love that. But let's, get down to the nitty-gritty. What exactly does an occupational railway instructor do?
Well, the RoleCatcher Career Guide defines it as teaching future drivers of everything from trains to trams, metros, trolleys, all that. But here's the thing. It's not just the driving. You're also teaching them about customer service, right?
Okay.
And all those really important safety measures.
So it's more dynamic than I initially thought. Like, not just technical skills, but like how to interact with people.
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly. And to make your job search even broader, the guide actually has a bunch of different alternative job titles.
Oh, okay.
So thinking of yourself as, like a real training specialist or something instead of just like an instructor can really open some doors.
Okay, that's smart. All right, so I am ready to tackle some tricky interview questions.
Okay, yeah.
These are real questions, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are all taken straight from RoleCatcher's resources.
Okay, perfect. So we're not, like, making this up.
No. This is the real deal.
Okay, great. So walk me through, like, how we should be thinking about these questions.
Okay, so we'll go through a few of them. We'll give you some insights on what the interviewer is really trying to figure out.
Okay.
Some tips on how to approach your answer.
Yeah.
And maybe even some potential follow-up questions, just so you're thinking a couple steps ahead.
Okay, so it's like almost like having a cheat sheet,
Yeah.
but like the ethical kind. All right, so hit me with the first question.
All right. Can you tell us about your experience with railway safety regulations and procedures?
Okay, that seems like a pretty standard question.
Yeah.
Like, what's the hidden meaning there? What are they really trying to figure out?
Well, they really want proof. Not that you've just heard of, safety regulations, but that you can show you understand how they work in real life.
So don't just like rattle off a list.
Yeah, exactly. Think about some specific times from your own experience, right? Maybe you helped put a new safety protocol into place, or maybe you dealt with a situation where those rules were like really important. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So give them like a story instead of just a like textbook definition.
Right.
Okay. What kind of follow-up question might they ask after that?
They might ask something like, can you describe a time when you had to apply a specific safety regulation in a really challenging situation?
Okay.
And this is to see if you can think on your feet and, solve problems under pressure.
Okay. So be prepared to go beyond just like the theoretical.
Right.
All right. Got it. Hit me with the next one. I'm ready. All right. This one's a little more strategic. How would you go about designing a railway training program for new employees? Okay, so now we're getting into like the real, nuts and bolts of the job. What are they hoping to hear with this one?
This is all about showing off your ability to structure effective training. Like, you can start by talking about how you'd figure out what these new recruits really need.
Right.
Like, what skills and knowledge are they going to need to, actually do the job?
And you'd have to think about like different learning styles and make it engaging, right? People learn in different ways.
Yeah, you're right. You can talk about using different teaching methods like simulations, maybe some hands-on exercises,
Right.
even group stuff to make things like fun and interactive. And don't forget about assessment, right? How are you going to make sure that they're actually learning and making progress?
Okay, so it's about creating a like program that's actually tailored for each person, not just, reading from a book and calling it a day.
Yeah, Exactly. Now imagine they follow up with, like, how would you adapt this program for employees who, already have experience, but they're switching to a new role within the railway?
Oh, okay, so you got to be flexible.
Right. Exactly.
That's a good point. It shows you can adapt, which is like essential for any teaching role. What's next? I'm ready for the next challenge.
Okay. This one's all about your methods. What steps do you take to ensure railway training programs are effective and meet the needs of employees?
So it sounds like they're looking for proof that you're not just going through the motions,
Uh-huh.
that you're like always evaluating and improving things.
You got it. It's about showing you're not just delivering the content and walking away. Talk about how you, get feedback from the trainees through things like surveys, assessments after the training, even just casual conversations.
And then like actually use that feedback to make things better.
Yeah.
Like a loop.
Exactly. And you can talk about times where you use that feedback to make real changes, right? Maybe you reorganized a module or use some new technology to make the learning experience better.
I like that. What about a potential follow-up question for this one?
They could ask you, how do you measure the long-term impact of your training program?
Okay.
So this is your chance to show them you're tracking, how employees are doing on the job, their safety records, even feedback from their supervisors, all that to prove that your training is actually valuable.
So it's not just about teaching, it's about making like a real difference you can actually measure. Okay, bring on the next question.
Can you describe a time when you had to adapt your training approach to meet the needs of a specific employee or group of employees?
Okay. So this is all about being able to like tailor your teaching style, right?
Yeah.
Showing that you're not like a one-size-fits-all kind of instructor.
Exactly. This is your moment to show off how adaptable and responsive you can be as a teacher. Think of a time when, you had a student who was really struggling or a group that had some special learning needs.
Okay.
How did you change things up to make sure that they were successful?
So maybe I had to like break down a really complex concept into smaller, like bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. Or even switch to a totally different teaching method to better suit how they learn.
Right.
The key here is to be really specific.
Okay.
And show that you can think on your feet. You want to paint a clear picture of the situation, the problems that you faced, and what you actually did to change your teaching to meet those needs.
Gotcha. What kind of follow-up might come after this?
They could ask, how do you figure out the individual learning needs of your trainees?
Oh.
This shows them how you assess your students, how good your observation skills are, and how well you communicate to understand their individual needs.
I'm noticing a pattern here. It's not just about giving the like right answer. It's more about showing that you're, a thoughtful instructor, somebody who really cares about whether the trainees are actually learning.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They're looking for passion, for adaptability, and a real commitment to helping people grow.
Okay, so what's next?
All right, this one's about keeping up with your field. How do you stay up to date with changes in railway safety regulations and procedures?
Okay, so this one seems pretty straightforward. Like, just show that I'm, committed to learning, right?
Yeah, but again, specifics are key. Don't just say that you keep up. Talk about, the actual publications you read, the conferences you attend, courses you've taken.
Oh, okay.
Are you part of any professional organizations?
Right.
Do you have a mentor who keeps you in the loop?
So you got to be proactive. Like,
Yeah.
actually seek out that knowledge,
Yeah.
not just sit around and wait for it to come to you.
Exactly. And a possible follow-up to be, can you give us an example of a recent change in railway safety regulations and how you actually incorporated it into your training?
Oh, nice. So it ties it all together.
Yeah.
It shows you're not just hoarding information, you're actually using it.
Right.
Make sure your training is relevant.
Yeah.
All right, what else? My brain is like in overdrive. This is great.
Okay. Let's shift gears a bit. This is a classic one. Can you give an example of a time when you had to resolve a conflict with a colleague or a supervisor?
That's a pretty common interview question, but how does it apply to an occupational railway instructor specifically?
Well, it's about seeing how you handle, those tricky situations with other people.
Okay.
Remember, conflicts can happen even in a training environment, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you and a colleague disagree on the best way to teach something, or maybe you had a miscommunication with a supervisor. Things happen.
So they want to see how you handle yourself, basically.
Exactly. Pick an example that shows off your communication skills, your problem-solving approach, and how professional you are. Clearly lay out the situation, the steps you took to fix it, and the good outcome that resulted from your actions.
Okay. What kind of follow-up question might they ask?
They might ask something like, what did you learn from that experience, and how has it changed how you approach conflict resolution now?
Okay.
It shows that you can think about your experiences, learn from them, and use those challenges to grow, both personally and professionally.
I love that. It shows that you're always looking for ways to improve yourself, not just in your teaching, but in like how you deal with other people.
Right, exactly. Okay, ready for the next one?
Yeah, hit me.
All right. We're going to move into time management territory now. How do you prioritize competing demands on your time and resources?
Okay, time management. That's important in any job, but especially when you're juggling, multiple trainees, lessons, administrative tasks. That's a lot to keep track of.
It is. The interviewer wants to know that you can handle a busy workload, right?
Right.
And make smart choices about how you spend your time and resources.
So how do I even approach this question?
Well, start by outlining how you prioritize tasks, right? Do you use a to-do list,
Uh-huh.
a scheduling app, or a specific framework for, figuring out what's urgent and what's important?
And then I would give a specific example of how I did that in the past, right?
Yeah, maybe you had to reschedule a training session because some equipment broke, or you delegated tasks to a coworker to meet a tight deadline.
Right, right.
Walk them through how you made those decisions and how you made sure everything was handled well.
Okay. And what about a possible follow-up?
They could throw you a curveball. They might ask, how do you handle, those unexpected disruptions or emergencies that throw your schedule off?
Oh, yeah.
So this is where you can show off your flexibility, your problem-solving skills, and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
Like you can roll with the punches. Okay, I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah.
What else you got?
All right, this one focuses on consistency. How do you ensure that all employees receive consistent and high-quality training regardless of their background or experience level?
Okay, that's really important in like railway operations.
You're right.
Where, safety and standardized procedures are like super important. There's no room for error.
Absolutely. The interviewer wants to know that you have a system in place to make sure that the training is high quality and consistent for everyone.
Okay.
Making sure everybody has the same knowledge and skills.
So how do I say that in my answer?
Well, highlight your experience in developing and implementing standardized training. Do you use a specific curriculum or training manuals or assessment tools to keep things consistent?
And it's about, actually checking on the trainees' progress.
Right.
Giving them individualized feedback, making sure everyone is meeting the standards and getting the help they need.
Excellent point. And a potential follow-up question could be, how do you handle situations where trainees come from different backgrounds, or they have varying levels of experience?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, because you have to make it, a welcoming learning environment where everyone feels supported.
Exactly. It shows your sensitivity to, people's individual needs and your commitment to making a positive and fair learning environment for everybody. Okay, you ready for the last question in this round?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right. How do you ensure that employees retain the information and skills they learn during training and can apply them effectively in their roles?
That's the ultimate goal, right? It's not about just passing a test.
Right.
It's about making sure those skills actually translate into real-world competence.
You got it. The interviewer wants to know that you're thinking beyond just the training session itself, and you have strategies for, making that learning stick.
Okay, so what are the key things I should mention?
Talk about the methods you use to promote knowledge retention, like hands-on practice, simulations, those ongoing assessments, mentorship programs, refresher courses, even online resources they can access later.
Right.
Lots of options.
What about a possible follow-up question here?
They might ask, how do you measure the long-term effectiveness of your training programs in terms of employee performance and safety records? This lets you connect what you do to real results and show you can track and analyze that data.
Okay, so this has been amazing. It's like a crash course in interview prep.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to go back to RoleCatcher's AI capabilities for a second.
Okay.
How can those tools help me, besides the resources we've been talking about?
Well, remember that massive database we mentioned?
Yeah.
9 million employers. Creating a profile on RoleCatcher basically lets companies who are looking for people with your skills find you.
So it's like a digital headhunter,
Yeah.
but it works for you 24/7.
Yeah, basically. And the AI goes even further. It can analyze your CV and tailor it to specific jobs, highlighting the skills and experiences that each employer is looking for.
So it's like having like a personal CV writer,
Mm.
but one that knows exactly what each hiring manager wants.
Exactly. And it can even help you practice your interview answers.
Really?
Yeah, you can record yourself answering questions, and RoleCatcher's AI will give you feedback on your delivery, your content, even your body language.
Wow, it's like a virtual interview coach. This is incredible.
It really is. It gives you a real edge in the job market.
Okay, we've covered a lot about the interview process, but what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
What does the RoleCatcher guide say about being an occupational railway instructor as a career, beyond just getting the job?
Let's dive into those career insights in part 2 of our deep dive.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So welcome back to our deep dive into the world of occupational railway instructors.
Yeah, we just went through like a ton of those tough interview questions.
You did.
But now I kind of want to like zoom out a little.
Okay, yeah.
Look at the bigger picture of what this career actually looks like.
Right.
So hit me with those career insights. What really jumped out at you from the RoleCatcher Career Guide?
Well, one thing that they really emphasize is hands-on experience. Like, you can be super passionate about railways and, love teaching,
Right.
but practical experience is, like, non-negotiable.
Right. So it's not just about what you've read in a book. You need to have actually like gotten your hands dirty
Exactly.
to really understand what the industry's all about.
Yeah, and speaking of getting your hands dirty, the guide mentions something kind of interesting in the pros and cons section. Potential exposure to hazardous materials.
Oh, wow. That's not something you like immediately think of when you're picturing a teaching role.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that, this job can be a bit more demanding than you might expect. Like, you could be working outside in all kinds of weather, dealing with big machinery, and being comfortable with, all those safety protocols is essential.
So you're shaping the future of, railway professionals, but you're also like right there in the thick of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And here's another interesting thing. The guide talks about how the industry is moving more and more towards automation
Oh,
and digitalization.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like technology is changing everything these days.
It is.
So how does that like actually affect the role of an occupational railway instructor?
Well, it means you have to stay ahead of the curve. You might be teaching students about like automated systems or, digital tools that didn't even exist a few years ago. Imagine like training somebody on a virtual reality train simulator. That's the future.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So lifelong learning is like super important in this field. It's not a job where you just like learn it once and you're good.
Right. You have to constantly be like updating your knowledge.
Exactly. And to help you with that, the guide gives some good tips for career advancement. They say things like take extra courses, go to industry events, even put together a portfolio of your, successful training session.
Oh, I love that portfolio idea. Like it's something you can actually show people proof of what you've done.
Right. It's a great way to stand out from other candidates. And speaking of standing out, the guide also mentions networking.
Yeah, networking is huge in like any field.
It is.
But I imagine it's especially important something as specialized as like railway transportation.
Yeah, going to conferences, joining professional groups, connecting with other instructors, all that can open doors and help you stay informed.
It's not just about what you know, it's about like who you know, but also like building that community.
Exactly. And within that community, there's definitely room to grow. The guide makes it clear that there's potential for real career advancement in this role.
So it's not just like a stepping stone. It's a career path with real potential.
Right. You could become a senior trainer or a training manager, even move into a, related field within the railway industry. Lots of possibilities if you're willing to put in the work.
It's not just about teaching. It's about like shaping the future of railway transportation.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And to see how those different levels of impact play out, we should look at the career stages section of the guide.
Okay.
It lays out like the typical responsibilities from when you're first starting out all the way up to those senior roles, so you can really see what your career might look like.
Okay, so break it down for me. What does like an entry-level occupational railway instructor do? What are those early days actually like?
Well, at the entry level, you'd probably be helping out with the teaching, observing students during practice, and assisting with those non-driving topics we mentioned earlier, like customer service and all that.
So you're like supporting the more experienced instructors and slowly taking on more responsibilities,
Right, learning the ropes.
building up your confidence.
Exactly. And as you get more experience, you'll move on to teaching theory and techniques on your own, giving students feedback, even helping to create some of the training materials.
So you're not just delivering someone else's curriculum, you're like helping to shape it.
Exactly. And then at the senior level, you're leading and overseeing instruction, doing, those big evaluations, even mentoring new instructors,
Wow.
sharing your knowledge and experience to help them along.
So you become like a leader
Right.
and a mentor.
Yeah. And the guide even mentions a role called the Principal Occupational Railway Instructor.
Okay.
This person oversees the whole training program and works with industry experts to make sure everything is, up to the highest standards.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is. It really shows that this role goes way beyond just teaching. It's about leadership, strategy, and, a commitment to making things better at a bigger level.
This career path honestly sounds like incredibly rewarding. But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
What are some of the challenges you might face? What are the downsides?
Well, like we mentioned earlier, the guide says that it can be physically demanding, long hours, working in different environments, and you might be exposed to those, hazardous materials.
Right.
So it's not a desk job.
No, you need to be physically fit.
Yeah. And the guide also says that you have to be constantly learning and adapting. The industry is changing so fast, so you got to stay up to date on new tech, safety protocols, and new ways of teaching.
That's true. Technology is always evolving, so you got to keep learning.
Exactly. And that can be a lot for some people. You need dedication, good time management, and you got to be open to, new ideas and approaches.
It does keep things interesting, though.
Oh, for sure. You're always learning and growing and, adapting to the changing world.
Right. It's not like a boring job.
No. And that's one of the best parts. It's not just a job. It's a chance to really make a difference in an industry that impacts everyone's lives.
I'm so glad we did this deep dive. I honestly didn't know much about this career path before.
Me neither.
But I'm like, wow, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, let's go back to those alternative job titles we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah. Good idea. Expanding your job search beyond just occupational railway instructor can make a big difference.
Right.
It's about knowing how employers describe these roles.
Okay, so let's explore those alternative titles and see what other doors they might open in part 3 of our deep dive. All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered so much.
We have.
Like how to handle those interview questions, what the career path looks like. But before we finish up, I feel like there's one more tool, like a secret weapon for your job search.
Yeah, you're talking about those alternative job titles from the RoleCatcher guide. This is where things get really interesting.
Okay, so break it down for me. Why is this so important?
Well, if you only search for occupational railway instructor, you're kind of missing out.
Okay.
Employers might use different wording in their job postings.
Oh, so you could be missing opportunities even if you're, totally qualified, just because you're not using the right words.
Exactly. So these alternative titles help you, broaden your search and find more options.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me some examples.
Okay, so one that really stands out is rail training specialist.
Okay.
It just sounds, a little more modern, a little more dynamic than just instructor.
It does. It's got a nice, ring to it. And it emphasizes that, you're bringing specialized knowledge to the table.
Right. And then there's railway operations instructor. That one really focuses on the hands-on part of the job.
Okay.
The actual running of the trains.
Yeah. I could see how using those different keywords would bring up different job postings.
Yeah, you're speaking their language.
Right, right.
And here's one that might surprise you. Transportation safety educator.
Oh, that's interesting. That's broader than just railway, right?
It is. It could open up opportunities in aviation or maritime, where your skills could transfer over.
So it's about thinking outside the, the railway box.
Yeah.
Seeing how your skills could be useful in other areas.
Exactly. And by using these alternative titles, you're not just finding more jobs, you're showing employers that you understand the industry.
Right.
And that you can adapt to different roles.
That is a really good tip, something I wouldn't have even thought of.
And that's why we're here,
Yeah.
to give you those little advantages that can make a big difference.
Totally. So beyond like just the practicalities of finding the right job,
Yeah.
what does this tell us about, what it means to be an occupational railway instructor?
It shows how versatile and adaptable you have to be. You're not just a teacher. You're a safety expert, a technical expert, and you have to be able to, communicate with all kinds of different people.
Right. It's like a multifaceted role.
It is, and that's what makes it so challenging and so rewarding.
This has been honestly like so eye-opening.
Yeah, it's been fun.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding of this field.
Good. Hopefully we've inspired you to take the next step, whether it's railway instruction or something else that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. And, knowledge is power. The more you know, the better prepared you are.
Right, and if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all the information out there, that's where RoleCatcher can really help.
Yeah.
Their AI tools can, help you find the right jobs, tailor your applications, and even coach you through those interviews.
It's like having like a personal career assistant in your pocket.
Yeah, pretty much. So don't be afraid to use technology, and most importantly, believe in yourself.
Okay, that is a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of occupational railway instructors.
It's been a pleasure. Stay curious, keep learning, and keep those trains running smoothly.